Hello, all. Welcome back to New Chapters. My name is Sarah, and if this is your first time joining me, I just want to say thank you for stopping by for this chapter of my life. I am a hobby hopper, so if this isn't the content you usually watch me for, I hope you enjoy this hobby as well, and will stick around for today's video. Today, we're going to be doing another WIP. WIP, W-I-P, just stands for work in progress. So today I'm going to be working on this diamond painting from Enabler's Outpost. This is the Winter Girl kit. It's no longer in stock, but I will link to the Enabler's Outpost website down below so you can check out what kits they currently have available. In terms of tools, I'm going to be using this diamond painting pen from Diamond Art Club, as well as their steel single placer tip. And I have a glue dot in the tip here to use as kind of my wax substitute. I also have my tweezers here from Dreamer Designs that I'll use if I need to. And then I also have my Firefly Diamond Art tray here that I am using. So this one has the multiple bases here. So this is the one that has the multi-placing grid lines, and then underneath that I have just the regular grid line tray, and then the one I'm going to be using is this single placing grid that's just the single grid across the whole tray. And then off on the corner here, out of camera sight, I have my Elizabeth Ward tray, which has all of my drills kitted up. So while I am getting this little piece removed here, how are you guys doing? What's going on with you all? Anything new? Any updates? Anything good, bad, otherwise that you want to talk about? Let me know about it in the comments down below. I would love to hear about what's going on in your life. And offer any sort of like emotional assistance that I can, whether that's for the good things or for the bad things or otherwise. Let me know about it in the comments below. I'd love to chat about it. This video might be a tiny bit shorter. I have quite a few things still on my list of things I wanted to talk about today, but as you all probably know, this was my first week at my job now. So I've been unemployed for the last 3 months or so, and I just started a job as a like, I don't know how best to describe it. It's like just like a care attendant, I guess would maybe be the best way to describe it, for kids who are in a psychiatric facility that just kind of are. My job is to be there to help them go through therapeutic goals and do like homework and just kind of day to day living things. Eventually, I'll be working on the evening shift, so it'll be, the after school sort of routine that I'll be helping maintain. But that's sort of the role that I have, is just kind of to be there to help them implement different techniques and goals and things that they are working towards to eventually, hopefully, successfully leave the facility, so they can return back to the community and to their homes. So my goal is just to, help them use like coping skills and learn like how to deal with certain situations that might be negative, and make sure that they are safe and secure at our facility, and then can take those skills that they learn at our facility into the real world and be able to still implement them and use them successfully for their own safety and sometimes the safety of others, depending on the situation with the kid. But I haven't started any of that stuff yet. This week we just were doing training. So the first day was basically just, the basic human resources paperwork and things that most jobs have. And then the rest of the week has been all training. So there's been a lot of theory work. So kind of looking at like why we use certain techniques and skills and interventions and things, and why we don't use others, and kind of best practices and all that kind of jazz. And then we also did some of the physical side of the role, which is, as I said, like safety is the number one priority at the facility. So there are times where, for the safety of either the kids that we're working with or the safety of those around the kids we're working with, we might have to implement some sort of like physical movement restrictions. So, like physically making sure that somebody can't move around too much or, swing their arms out and be punching themselves or others or things like that. So we were using like safe restraint techniques is basically what we were learning this week, so that when those situations do arise, we have the ability to safely de-escalate those situations without hurting ourselves, hurting the kids, allowing the kids to hurt each other, all of that kind of stuff. So it was definitely very physically intensive for me this week. And if you guys recall from my last video, I talked about tie-dyeing t-shirts to have as work shirts for this job. And it turns out that was a very poor decision because I had been squatting and like sitting on my knees and kneeling and getting up and down from the floor, and not sitting on like a comfortable flooring. Like I was sitting on laminate hardwood flooring, and so my legs had already been sore and were hurting before we even got to training this week. And then I went to training where you're using those exact same muscles. So, like, going up and down the stairs right now is very painful. Trying to move around, heck, even trying to sit down like in a chair or like go to the bathroom is nearly impossible right now without causing quite a bit of distress and pain. And that's my own fault. I mean, I should have realized that those same sort of muscles were going to be used for this training and not overexerted them before doing this, especially since, again, I've been out of work for like 3 months, so I haven't really been super physically active. Ooh, sorry, that was very loud. Hopefully, I can remember to try to cut that out or tone that down in the video. My coordination is not great right now because of, again, overexerting myself, quite honestly, the last week or so. And then, in part to help with it, but also just because of the way things have played out, I've also been walking at night quite a few nights this week with my boyfriend, which we don't normally. He wants me to work with him more on that stuff and like go with him to exercise more. And I should do it. I know it's what's best for me and what's healthy for me, and it helps keep him accountable to exercising and stuff, which is part of why he asked me to help. But typically, especially during winter and stuff, it's hard to get me motivated to go out and do that kind of stuff. So it's been a little bit warmer this week. Temperatures had been pretty warm and then it dropped back down the last couple weeks, but they were not too terrible the last few nights. So we've gone out for some walks, which on the one hand, again, helps kind of alleviate some of the pain, but also is still more physical activity at the same time. So it's kind of a catch-22 of it helps with relieving the pain long term, but it kind of causes the pain to flare up in the moment. So I've been doing a lot of that stuff this week, which has been fine. It's been helpful. It's been nice to go on walks and stuff. But I'm definitely very sore and not very comfortable, kind of generally. I mean, even sitting here, like doing my diamond painting stuff, I can sometimes, my legs can get kind of sore if I'm sitting in the same position for a while, or my back and my arms and things like that. And so my usual soreness from diamond painting is being exacerbated right now by already being sore. So we'll see how long I can manage to sit here comfortably enough to film this. Um, but yeah, so started the new job this week. As I said, it's been training and HR stuff. That's been all we've done this week so far. Next week, we have more training, which I know is a little bit more like documentation and paperwork. We also are doing some observation of like the living quarters, at least for my shift. We're kind of going to split into different training modules depending on like what shift we're going to be working. So I won't be necessarily with all the same people that I've been with this week. It's been a very small group of us, but I think at least one of us is on the day shift. So she's going to have a different schedule than the other girl and I, who are on evening and night shift. At least that's my understanding of it from things that we were talking about last week. But so far, it's going pretty good. It was kind of awkward the first couple of days. We're all brand new to the job, so like we're all a little awkward and like we don't know each other at all. So it was a quiet week at the beginning of the week. By the end of the week, we were all kind of talking to each other a little bit more and could have conversations. But the first couple of days, like anytime we were told like, okay, you guys can take a break or whatever, or like here's your lunch break time and all that stuff, we all just kind of more or less pretended the other people didn't exist. We all kind of ignored each other. We were a pretty quiet bunch. Um, so it was kind of funny. The first couple of days there was just a lot of awkward silence, it felt like, at least to me. And then by the end of the week, as I said, we were chatting with each other if we had free time and all that. So that was good. Um, Obviously, as you actually get into your role and stuff and you're with the people you're going to be working with, we'll be talking to each other more. But I know, at least from my perspective, I was kind of like, not that I don't want to get to know the other people that are in the agency, but I was like, I'm not going to be working with any of the people who were in my training group. We're all on different shifts, we all have different days. So it's kind of like, I don't really want to waste a lot of my social energy necessarily getting to know people that I'm not actually going to be interacting with regularly. So maybe that's not the best perspective for it. And as I said, by the end of the week, we were all chatting and like getting to know each other a little bit more. But when I first, like on Monday, I was like, I don't know that I really feel the need to spend a lot of social energy getting to know like the person who's going to be an administrative assistant in a completely different city or the maintenance crew or any of that kind of stuff. So we definitely had quite a few awkward silences, and I certainly didn't help break those silences, at least on the first couple of days. But by the end of the week, we were all getting to know each other a little bit more and chatting. All right. And then that was another thing. I finally got access to like benefits stuff, and I was kind of sad about the benefits. I mean, benefits are better than no benefits, don't get me wrong, but I was kind of disappointed in like they weren't great benefits. Um, Pretty expensive for what they're offering in terms of benefits. And then they don't have great coverage, they have really high deductible prices. Things were not, unfortunately, quite as great in the benefits department as I would have hoped for. But again, I'm looking forward to having benefits versus no benefits. I believe you have to be there though for 90 days, which is like your probationary period for the company before you're actually benefits eligible. So got to wait a little bit longer before I can even sign up for that stuff. But they do have okay benefits that I'm looking forward to being able to get back on so I can go back to the dentist and go ahead and make a new doctor's appointment and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure I'm staying up to date on all of the health things that, can, in my experience, pretty easily fall to the back burner if I'm not being diligent and staying on top of that kind of stuff. That's something that I can easily justify myself out of doing. And that's a bad habit that I need to just make sure I'm staying up with dental work and medical appointments and all that kind of thing, like the annual checkups and all that. But yeah, so benefits are there, or will be there, I guess, after 90 days, but they're not great quite yet. I have really been enjoying the training. I talked about the physical side of it, but there's been a lot of theory work. So we've been talking about, I just had like interventions and when to use certain interventions over others and when not to, and kind of just like nonverbal skills and like how to communicate effectively, things like that. Things that when you talk about it and say it out loud, like it feels like it should be very straightforward, basic, like duh information. But honestly, even as somebody who's worked in like kind of social worky, clienty um, fields, like I find that stuff like this is always so intriguing to me because even as somebody who's been doing this sort of work for a while, there's always new things that get brought to my attention that I'm like, well, that makes sense as to why this situation happened previously, or like, why don't more people teach this in like this sort of capacity in other positions? That's something I've definitely felt this this week with the training about like my previous work being in like law enforcement or law enforcement adjacent roles. It's like, man, the kinds of like the different way that law enforcement could potentially approach things if they had taken some sort of training like the one that I'm taking this week and next week. Like, it's so much about de-escalation, and like there are totally times where you have to be more elevated and more escalated than um just talking to somebody and like trying to work through a problem verbally. But like in my opinion, it feels like there's a lot of overuse of like restriction and force, and also just like part of the whole like point of the organization, as I said, like safety is one of their number one standards. And so like thinking about like, is it really that big of a deal to enforce this really minor tiny rule that we have, that we've decided as a society as a rule, but like really doesn't actually impact anybody in any way? Like, is it really worth getting into, I don't know, like a physical altercation with a community member because they said something mean to somebody else, that like somehow cops got involved in this situation, but like no one's actually being harmed at this point in time? And like, is there a way to just talk about it, and talk about it in the way of like, hey, why'd you do that? Or next time, how about we try doing it this way, or something kind of along those lines, versus being like, since I'm involved now, you must listen to me at all costs. And that means that even though I'm only here because you said something rude to somebody and everybody's gone about their business, but you're not responding to me appropriately. So now we're elevating the situation. I don't know. It put into perspective for me, especially like when I was in a correctional program, like, is it really worth like putting some sort of restriction on somebody, for instance, for like taking more food than they're supposed to have? I understand that is a rule, but like the using that as justification for like fully locking somebody back for the day, or like restricting their movements for a week because they took extra food that they weren't supposed to have, not from somebody else, but like took it off of the food cart or something. It just really put a new perspective on like how those situations were handled at my previous job, and like the fact that there are other alternatives that perhaps could be way more effective, if they were implemented correctly, even in those sorts of environments. Or even same with like school environments. Like if you get in trouble for talking back to a teacher, like does it really have to mean that now you have some sort of restriction, like in school suspension or out of school suspension, um, or something that's really restrictive? And is that actually teaching anything, or is that just a punishment that begets more of the same behavior further on down the road, because you haven't actually dealt with like, why was that kid saying these things? Was it because they were acting out and wanted attention, because like something at home is going on that like they're not getting attention? Is it something that like they don't like the assignment that's going on, so to get away from the assignment they said something they shouldn't have, just so they could get in trouble on purpose, so they could go to the like principal's office or something like that? I don't know. It again, it's put a whole new perspective on things for me this past week. um just thinking about like the sorts of punishments we implement, and are they necessary? So again, the training's been awesome for me. And it's really put into perspective a lot of different things that like I've done and seen and heard about, both professionally and personally, honestly. So it's been cool. But yeah, the other thing going on is that my brother and I have scheduled a phone call for next weekend, I believe, to kind of chat and catch up. We're pretty close, but we tend to kind of, I don't know, go a couple months without really like talking on the phone or anything, and then we'll schedule ourselves a phone call and we'll talk for like 3 or 4 hours and kind of catch up on what's been going on. Um, so we don't talk like every day, but we do talk pretty frequently about like anything and everything going on. We just do it more in like one single phone call catch up versus doing it every couple of days, or every couple of weeks even. So he was wanting to talk this weekend, but it's actually my partner's and I's anniversary, was last week, and we were celebrating it this weekend. So I told my brother, I was like, well, unfortunately, I am not going to be home when you wanted to call and talk. So we went ahead and scheduled something for next weekend to talk. Um, so that'll be nice to kind of chat with him. I'm trying to remember. I don't think we've really like caught up since Christmas. Um, which I mean is about on schedule for us. As I said, we catch up every couple months, so normally about 3-4 months or so, we like talk or see each other in person, kind of depending on what time of year it is and what's going on in our lives and all that sort of stuff. So we'll probably talk next weekend for a little bit, and just kind of catch up on life, see where things are at. I'll tell him about my new job, and he recently took over as like the manager of a store that he works for. So I'll catch up with him and chat about that and see how things are going for him. He's been doing that since just after Christmas. So now he's got a couple months under his belt, so I'll probably have some more insights on how he's feeling about it and how things are going. But I'm looking forward to getting to chat with him and catch up. Um, and then, as I said, it was my partner's and I's anniversary this past week. So we kind of have an annual tradition of going to the big city closest to us, and we will make kind of a date day out of it. Normally, we go and get like lunch or dinner, depending on kind of what time we're going. And then we also tend to go to they have a board game shop that we go to. We really like to play board games with our friends and just together, the two of us, even, and with our families, truthfully. Um, and so that kind of became a tradition. On our 1 year anniversary, he took me to this like marketplace that has a board game shop, and then they also have a candy store there. So because I'm just a large child at heart, that became kind of our tradition. Is we go and we look at board games. Truthfully, we typically buy board games. I'm very fortunate that he like plans for this all year, and he will save and set aside some money, so that we, well, yes, we, but also more importantly, I think for him, that I can buy some board games um, when we go each year. So we go to the board game store, and then, as I said, we typically go to a candy store, and we get like taffy. Typically, is what we get, and we'll get they like you pay for it by the pound or something like that there. So we always get saltwater taffy in the past, and then this year though, I had seen a place that is not right near where this marketplace is, but is still in the same city that has like gourmet popcorn. And there's a place in my hometown that we had gone to a couple of times that they have like, not just normal kettle corn flavors, but they also have like cheesecake and like cinnamon toast crunch and like jalapeno and just a whole bunch of different like sweet and savory flavors that you can get your kettle corn in. And so this place seemed very similar. So we ended up trying that this weekend, and that was awesome. New to us place, was really good, was nicely priced. They have like a flavor sampling wall basically. So they put their flavors of popcorn just in these little dispensers. So you can actually like taste test all of the flavors that you're interested in buying before you buy them, which is really cool because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if you're telling me that I'm gonna get some dill pickled flavored popcorn, like it sounds intriguing to me, and I like pickles, so like I'm not opposed to it, but it's nice that you can try it before you buy it, and you don't just have to spend $3 to $6 depending on what size or which type of flavors you're getting, just for their smallest size to try it. So that was really awesome. We really enjoyed getting to go there. And try out their popcorn. It was something a little bit different and a little bit new. The only sad thing is the restaurant that we have been going to for the last couple of years. Um, my partner was like, I don't think that like my food's fully cooked. He's like, I can't really tell from the lighting and stuff in here, and I'm not 100% on whether it's just in my head or if it actually isn't cooked all the way through. And he was like, I don't really want to make a big deal about it right now. So he didn't end up saying anything to our waiter. And what sucks is like we've always had really, really great customer service there. But while we were sitting there and he was thinking, like, I don't know if this is quite right, he started looking up reviews for the restaurant. And there had been other people who had complained about having undercooked like proteins like fish and meat and stuff with their pasta meals. But the worst part was that he was able to see the owner's responses to these like reviews, and the owner was kind of like very much like, you just don't know what real Italian food is, and like maybe Olive Garden is what you need if you can't handle our food, and like just some really, in my opinion, kind of nasty and unnecessary comments. And it wasn't even. I was like, I told him, I was like, I could see a justification of like, we cook our food to the appropriate internal temperature for food safety, and like sometimes that might mean the color isn't as cooked visually as you would expect it to be, but we make sure that we're using or cooking things to the correct temperatures at least. Like that sort of answer I could have totally respected. But an answer that's just like, you just don't know what good Italian food tastes like and looks like was kind of an inappropriate response, in my opinion, in terms of like customer service. Um, and so I think we've decided that since it was kind of a miss for him, at least in the experience this year, and even though we've had really good customer service, like they're very much like waiting on you hand and foot. Like it's a very luxurious sort of experience. It doesn't feel like going just to Olive Garden and your waiter comes and checks on you every few a couple of times throughout the meal, but it's not very frequently. Most of the time, like at this place, literally every couple of minutes, like somebody's coming by your table and making sure you don't need bread or drinks, or you don't want to order anything else to eat or any of that kind of stuff. It's almost like you have your primary waiter or waitress, but then they have a whole team that kind of comes in and will you know assist with any sort of serving that you might need. um so it feels really fancy, and that's why we go there for our anniversary. But I think we've decided that unfortunately we're just not going to be able to keep going there anymore. And truthfully, like my food wasn't bad, but it wasn't great this year either. So between both of between all of those things, I guess I should say, we just decided that it probably is going to have to be removed from our list of where we're going. So next year we'll be looking for a new fancy place to go to for our anniversary, I'm sure. Um, but the rest of the day was really good. As I said, we really enjoyed the new gourmet popcorn place we went to. We got 6 board games because we just don't have any self control. um, so looking forward to that. It's kind of giving us both a push. I again, as I've mentioned in my last WIP&Chat, I've been procrastinating on getting things done around my house that I should have been doing while I've been off for 3 months now. Um, and so one of those things is still working on unpacking some of our place that we moved into last year in October. So we have kind of a intention to have a dedicated game space in our living room on our first floor, but I haven't actually set that up yet, and didn't before I started my new job. So that's something that kind of lit a fire under us again, both of us, to be like, all right, we need to prioritize setting up our living room space so that we can play these board games, because we have several that we would like to play, including the ones we just bought. And we have a friend that is really wanting to get together to play a couple of games. So we have to, set all of our space up before we can all get together to play. So hopefully this is kind of some motivation to keep working on unpacking and getting things set up and where we want everything to be in the near future, so we can actually play the board games that we bought. And before we go next year and buy more board games and haven't even played the 6 we bought yesterday. um, but yeah, I think the only other thing that I have to talk about really this week is just kind of diamond painting related. I did end up getting the restock of the Randall Spangler kit that I said I was waiting on. That was kind of my last, like, I'd really like to get this kit when it comes back kits. And that was Universe in a Jar. So I did catch that one on the restock that they had this weekend. I think they had like 25 restocks and like 9 new kits or something like that, if I remember the email I got correctly. Um, so I was able to snag that. And as I said, I had points, so I was able to just use points to buy it. So I just had to pay a little bit of extra beyond, like, I think the kit was like $55. And so I was able to use $50 worth of points and then just had to pay the remainder then of the kit plus the shipping. Um, so yeah, I am very happy that I was able to get that. And then, as I said, at this point, I mean, I obviously have more kits on like my wish list and like my, if I decide to go back and purchase list, I have kits that I could purchase. And if I still have some points, I think I know that the tiers don't, like, because I've hit my diamond tier for this year, it won't expire until the end of 2025. But I think that your points and like rewards points expire like 6 months after your most recent purchase. So I'll have to make sure that I'm paying attention to when my 6 months from now comes up to make sure that I don't accidentally lose any of my rewards points. So I might make some more purchases between now and then, if there's kits that come back that I really like, or if there's some new kits that I want, as long as I can use those points to buy it. But yeah, for right now, I'm kind of trying to take a break and not be paying attention to what's happening on Diamond Art Club's website and their restocks now, since I was able to get, as I said, the Universe in a Jar kit, and then uh, last week, I believe, I was able to snag the uh, Dragon Spirit kit when it came back and restocked. So between both of those, getting those, I really don't have anything else that I am wanting to grab immediately from them. So I'm hoping that I can stop spending quite as much money on Diamond Art Club things, at least for a little bit. As I mentioned in my last video, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be Diamond Art Club content. I've got plenty of kits to produce some content from Diamond Art Club, but it'll actually give me, again, the ability to restock my finances, but also give me the chance to actually film some of the things that I've been getting from them, um, and kind of focus my attention on getting through filming some hauls for those, getting those put away, maybe doing another stash update, because I do have quite a few more kits to add to it. I should be shaming myself a little bit more for that. Should not have purchased nearly as many kits as I have in the last few months. But um, yeah, other than that, the only other thing I have is just to touch base with you guys one more time about um, what kind of kit you think I should start for my next WIP to go along with this Winter Girl kit. So I have kind of an alternate WIP going. Um, by the time that this video posts, I might have already made a decision and might go ahead and start kits, kind of depending on if I get some other comments on other videos where I've mentioned this, and kind of just how I'm feeling once I'm officially done with my training and stuff and starting my new work schedule. Not sure if I'm quite ready to dive into another WIP quite yet, but I imagine in the very near future, I will be looking at starting a second kit to kind of go alongside this one, or to work on, I guess, alongside this one. So if you guys have, again, thoughts about what kind of kit I should be doing alongside this one from Enabler's Outpost, or if you've seen my stash video and you want to request a specific kit that's in my stash, feel free to let me know about those in the comments down below. Another thing I'd like to ask for you guys in the comments is, if you've made it to the end of this video, if you'll leave an emoji related to this video. Specifically this time, I'm probably going to ask for like a work-related emoji. So, since I went back to work this week, even though this isn't quite what my work is going to be. If there's an emoji about, like, I don't know, like a suit or a dress or a briefcase or something like that, something work related, in your mind, go ahead and leave that in the comments down below for me, just indicating that you made it to the end of the video. I appreciate you being here, and I would love to see the support that I still have at this point in my WIP. But yeah, thank you all for watching today's video. If you're looking for more content related to this chapter of my life, please check out my diamond painting playlist. It's going to be linked in the description box, and it should pop up as a little card in the corner of this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content about this chapter and others. And please leave any comments or questions you have down below. And I will see ya in the next one. Bye.